I thought I was going crazy. My wife Sarah would disappear for hours claiming she was running errands. But when I secretly checked our bank statements, there were no purchases, no gas station visits, nothing. Just gaps in time that she couldn't explain. Then one Tuesday evening, everything changed. I saw her getting into a car outside our house. Not an Uber from the app, just some guy in a regular sedan. When she came home 3 hours later, I confronted her. Who was that man? Sarah? Without missing a beat, she looked me dead in the eyes and said, "What man?" "Oh, you mean my Uber driver?" But here's what she didn't know. I had been tracking something she never expected. If stories like this fascinate you, hit that subscribe button right now because you won't believe how this ends. Let me take you back to where this all started. My name is Marcus and I've been married to Sarah for 8 years. We met in college and she was everything I thought I wanted. Beautiful, smart, ambitious. We built what I believed was a perfect life together. But about 6 months ago, things started to feel off. It began with small things. Sarah would get mysterious phone calls and step outside to answer them. She'd claim it was work, but I knew her work schedule better than anyone. She started going to the gym more often, which should have been great, right? Except she never seemed to actually work out. Her gym bag would come home completely dry. Then there were the shopping trips. "I'm going to Target," she'd say, kissing me goodbye, but she'd return empty-handed. "Couldn't find what I was looking for," became her standard response. The final red flag? Her phone. Sarah, who used to leave her phone everywhere, suddenly became incredibly protective of it. It was always face down, always on silent, always within arm's reach. I started to feel like a stranger in my own marriage. I'm not proud of what I did next, but desperation makes you do crazy things. I started paying attention, real attention. I noticed that every Tuesday and Thursday, Sarah would leave the house around 2 p.m. and return around 5 p.m. She'd shower immediately every single time. When I asked about her day, she'd give vague answers about errands or meeting a friend named Jessica for coffee. But here's the thing about lies. They have to be consistent to work. One Thursday, I decided to call Jessica myself. Just to chat, maybe plan a surprise for Sarah. But when I asked Jessica about their coffee dates, she was confused. Coffee dates? Marcus? I haven't seen Sarah in months. That's when I knew something was seriously wrong. I started checking our phone records online. Sarah had been receiving calls from the same number multiple times a week. Always during the day, always when I wasn't home. I reverse searched the number. It belonged to a man named David Chun, age 34, living about 20 minutes across town. Who was David Chun? And why was my wife talking to him several times a week? I'll be honest, I was scared to find out the truth, but I couldn't live with the uncertainty anymore. That Tuesday, I decided to work from home without telling Sarah. I parked my car in the garage and kept the lights off in my home office, which has a perfect view of our driveway. At 1:58 p.m., right on schedule, Sarah came downstairs. She was dressed nicely, not gym clothes, not casual errands clothes. She was wearing the black dress I'd bought her for our anniversary. I watched from the window as she walked to the end of our driveway and waited. At exactly 2:05 p.m., a silver Honda Accord pulled up. Sarah looked around nervously, actually checking to see if anyone was watching, then got into the passenger seat. The car drove away with my wife inside. I sat there for a moment, processing what I'd just seen. Then I did something I never thought I'd do. I got in my car and followed them. They drove across town to a residential neighborhood I didn't recognize. The car pulled into the driveway of a modest 2-story house. Sarah got out and walked to the front door like she'd been there 100 times before. She had a key. She let herself into another man's house. I sat in my car for 3 hours. 3 hours watching my wife's life that I knew nothing about. At 5:10 p.m., she emerged from the house, got back in the Honda, and was driven home. I beat them there by taking a shortcut. When Sarah walked through our front door at 5:30 p.m., I was sitting in the living room waiting. "How was your day?" I asked, my voice surprisingly calm. "Oh, just ran some errands. Grabbed coffee with Jessica." The lie rolled off her tongue so easily. "That's funny," I said, "because I called Jessica today. Sarah froze. For just a split second, I saw panic flash across her face. Then she recovered. Oh well, we texted about meeting up, but we ended up canceling. I went shopping instead. What did you buy? Nothing caught my eye. Sarah, I said, standing up. I saw you get into that car today. I saw you go to that house on Maple Street. I saw you use a key to let yourself in. The color drained from her face. Marcus, I can explain. Please do. And that's when she said it. That's when she looked me in the eyes and told me the most creative lie I'd ever heard. He's my Uber driver, but not like a regular Uber driver. He's like a private driver. I hired him to take me places because I've been going to therapy. Individual therapy. I didn't want you to know because I was embarrassed. Therapy at someone's house. He's not just a driver. He's also a therapist. It's like a new kind of service. Uber therapy. You get driven to a private, comfortable location. I stared at her, amazed at how elaborate the lie was becoming. And you need a key because, oh, that's his office key. He lets clients hold on to it so they feel more comfortable, more in control of their space. Here's what Sarah didn't know. Here's the thing I had been tracking that she never expected. For the past month, I had been tracking our car using the built-in GPS system. You know, the one that helps with navigation and emergency services. I had been logging everywhere our car went. But here's the kicker. I had also been tracking Sarah's location through Find My Friends on her phone, the same feature she had insisted we both activate for safety reasons when we first got married. Sarah, I said quietly, if David Chun is just your Uber driver and therapist, why does your phone show you've been at his house 14 times in the past month? And why, according to our car's GPS, were you there last Sunday when you told me you were at your sister's house? The room went completely silent. Room went completely silent. And here's the really interesting part. I continued pulling out my phone. I looked up David Chin online. Guess what? He's not a therapist. He's not an Uber driver either. He's a divorced marketing consultant who happens to post a lot of pictures on social media. I showed her the screen. Pictures of him with a woman who looks exactly like you at restaurants I've never taken you to, on hiking trails we've never explored together, at a beach we've never visited. Sarah collapsed into the chair behind her. In fact, I said, according to his Facebook relationship status, he's been in a relationship for exactly 6 months, which is exactly how long you've been acting strange. The truth came out in a flood of tears and confessions. Sarah had met David at a work conference 6 months earlier. What started as innocent conversations had turned into an emotional affair, then a physical one. The Uber driver story was just the latest in a series of increasingly desperate lies to cover up a double life she'd been living. The Tuesday and Thursday visits weren't just meetups. She had been essentially living a second relationship. David thought they were headed toward her leaving me. Sarah thought she could somehow maintain both relationships indefinitely. As I'm recording this story, Sarah and I are in the middle of divorce proceedings. The hardest part wasn't the betrayal itself. It was realizing that the person I'd been married to for 8 years was capable of looking me in the eyes and lying so effortlessly, so creatively, so completely. Sometimes the people we trust most are the ones who surprise us in the worst possible ways. The lesson here, trust your instincts. When something feels wrong, it usually is. And in the age of technology, the truth has a way of surfacing, no matter how elaborate the lies become. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about trust in relationships. And remember, sometimes the most ordinary explanations hide the most extraordinary betrayals.